You know, there's one thing that'll ruin a live video, and that's not a man crying. That's when the man forgets to turn on the microphone. So I will start all over again. Doing okay? I know you're not going to respond, but I think you're doing okay. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in live. I didn't want to do this as a pre-recorded video. Not that I intend on looking at the comments. That's the last thing you want to do. I do want to make note that I demonetized this video up front. Like, I do not. That's not what that's not why I'm doing it. This video. Straight up, you should not see any ads on this video. That's turned off entirely. There was no really a great title to use for the video. No perfect title that was descriptive and yet specific and not over the top. The reason I'm doing this, a sense of obligation is probably the wrong word. Catharsis is probably not accurate. It's just that many of you who have been following for a number of years, going all the way back till even before YouTube, you may have known of Wicket. I mean, certainly if you watch the vlogs, I mean, Wicket was a part of it, as was Pixie. I've been dealing with some heavy stuff. So you can be happy in knowing that you knew Wicket, or knew of Wicket in the prime of his life. And that's not something I think happens, with everybody, anymore, right? With the prevalence of social media, a pet passes away and you don't really know the pet. Well, if you watch the videos that we did for about 5 or so years, I mean, I'm not going to say Wicket was daily, but he was certainly present, to the point where people have asked, even, up until, a week or two ago, like, how are Wicket and Pixie? So, with Pixie here, Wicket, he's not with us. Yesterday was his time. And that was something that was a long time coming. Wicket had shown signs of dementia quite a while ago, which at first was kind of funny. He'd keep trying to go through a door that we never opened, right, in a completely different part of the house. I'm like, Wicket, what are you doing? Of course, have taken care of these dogs for their entire life, but what amounted to be a quarter of mine. Pixie is 15 years old. Wicket was the same age. Born in 2014, April 1st, April Fool's Day. Wicket had always had a pretty strong personality, or as I put it, when he was first adopted with Pixie. Originally, I just wanted Pixie. That's true. And I said, no, not that one. That one's full of piss and vinegar. Boy, was I right. Boy, man. There are times, I'm not right about everything, but I nailed that one. And over the past year or so, his health deteriorated, quite honestly. Not something that necessarily happens overnight, but it got progressively worse. The dementia the feebleness. Of course, as seniors, they've lost a lot of muscle mass. Pixie's hard of hearing, but otherwise generally in good health. Wicket was always a stress ball. Always a stress ball. Always barking. Like if you heard Wicket if you heard a dog in the video, it was Wicket. A live video or otherwise, it was Wicket. So a couple nights ago, even after observing similar type of behavior on Sunday night, Wicket was in the backyard and was lost. He was lost in a backyard that he's known for a decade, lost, and going in circles and barking because he couldn't see, he couldn't find his way, he didn't know where to go. And I told Diana, like, what's up with that? Like, what's going on? And I was concerned. Of course, I always tend to overthink a lot of these things, but we put the dogs to bed, put them away, and didn't think much of it. It was just kind of like a routine evening. But I told Diana, I said, it may be time to effectively see if we can find someone who might be able to give him more attention than he might need, because I don't understand, necessarily what's happening entirely. Not necessarily seeing it as dementia. You tend to not see those things when you grow accustomed to them, or necessarily thinking that the problem was as bad as it was, because you're immersed in it every day and you don't see it. You tend not to see the forest for the trees. So didn't think much of it. Did the nightly routine as we've been doing for the past little while. But then in the morning, like at dawn, after I had a very restless night of sleep, thinking, the worst, is it time? Which is not really something that crossed my mind. But at dawn, when effectively I let the dogs out to eat, Wicket did not want water. He didn't want food, and mind you, Wicket would be usually the dog that would knock Pixie out of the way. And then, mind you, Pixie would do the same thing. But Wicket wanted to eat. I mean, he always did. And he also had kind of a shake to him, not a cold shiver shake, but not being able to control his muscle kind of shake. And this is something that I had noticed the night before as I helped him navigate the stairs, and realized that he couldn't do it effectively the night before, Sunday night. But I picked him up and I held him. I wrapped him up in a towel, in one of their towels, and he let me hold him, which, if you knew Wicket, is a very rare thing. Wicket's not one that wants to be held, coddled, pet at length. He's more of a cat. So I wrapped him up. I didn't put him away. I wrapped him in towels. He kind of collapsed into them. He was quiet. Wicket was quiet. Which, again, sometimes for Wicket's an anomaly. And so that's the thing. Is Wicket, he'd bark at the drop of a pin. That it was so common that when Wicket barked, you try to tend to him, and inevitably he was just going to bark. He was going to bark about anything and everything. So it was very difficult to ascertain whether or not he was going through something that he couldn't necessarily explain or we could necessarily see. So I told Diana, I'm like, as devastating as it was to admit, I said, I think it's time. I think it was Wicket's time. You don't really know. And I don't know if there's a right answer or a good time, but my mom told me, because she knew this would hit me hard. It did. It has. I've gone over the past 24 hours. There are times that I'll just cry. I just a good, healthy kind of cry, sobbing. Jedi has seen it. Hopefully I'll get to that in a second. But I called the vet to set an appointment to at least get him, looked at. Is this, I didn't even want to put it on the table without, the idea of, as they say, in a euphemistic way, putting him to sleep. So I called, and she said, what can I help you with? And I said, who's this about? And I said, Wicket. And she said, what's going on? I said, well, he's very senior, and I couldn't get through the rest. And Diana wasn't there. Jedi was kind of trotting in. I couldn't speak. I could not speak. Please, thank you for the super chat, but not right now. Thank you. I appreciate it, but this is not about that. And I will look at the comments afterwards. And thank you for bearing with. Not really something that I've done all that often, if at all. Eventually, I was able to eke out. I said, I think it's his time, and she knew. I'd imagine that they see a lot of this, being veterinarians or hospital. He didn't move. He may have very well been tired too. I don't know. I had a rough night of sleep, but I can only imagine if he was tired. But if he didn't have control of his muscles necessarily, I didn't know what was going on. He was just very tired, very lethargic, and turning away his food is very that is a huge red flag. Huge. So we scheduled the appointment, and I asked Diana. I was like, if you want to be there, you can be there. If you don't, you don't. You decide. I don't even know how to talk to Jedi about this. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to bring Pixie along, or if that would just be too much of a circus. Or what was going to happen. I had not come to any conclusion. I had not made any decisions. Still kind of flying blind, but I had a pretty good gut feeling for it. So we all went in, and when I put Wicket in his cage, because like I said, he's not been there. He's not been all there. Not being able to see, not being able to hear, getting very confused easily. But he knew he was going. He knew he was going into his cage, and so he started basically barking. But it was a very weathered bark. Didn't have much saliva. He barely peed when I let him out. Did not touch the water. Hoarse, just kind of a tired bark. And I can't even say that I remember him barking in the middle of the night, or even when I put him away. It didn't. That didn't necessarily add up. But I knew. Even before I put him in, I was like, I'm going to put Pixie in there with you. And as soon as I did, he was quiet. And I don't know if that's Wicket's way of saying he didn't want to be alone. Or if he knew. I don't know. I'll never know. I can just guess. But I knew, even before, I knew it was the right decision to let Pixie go. Not that I think she would know. And mind you, even throughout all this, even when Wicket was kind of wrapped up into the blankets, she's a licker. Always will. She was licking him, taking care of him, and Wicket, in typical Wicket fashion, didn't want to have any of it. He just doesn't. He's just not a cuddle pup. He's not a lap dog. Never was. Full of piss and vinegar. And he tried shifting away, but he was so tired. Pixie couldn't take a hint. He just kept licking. Like I said, you knew Wicket. You knew Wicket in his prime. So we pack up the car. Dogs are quiet. Usually, like when you get them together, there's a bit of a nervous energy, about them. And Wicket's usually the one kind of, and even Pixie sometimes will start whining. But it was pretty quiet. Apart from Jedi, it was just both Pixie and Jedi, I think, have been largely oblivious to what happened. I'll say that. We got there. They kind of knew what was going on. They took us to a room that I'd never been in before. It was a nice room, as far as veterinary hospitals are concerned. It was, I think I took a screenshot, I'll get to this in a second too, but of the video that Diana took, which I am not going to share. I'm just not. There are certain moments that I'm not going to share. I'm not going to share those videos. But just seeing it, it was pretty final. Because you knew they tried to do it up for comfort. I mean, mind you, it's a veterinary hospital. There's not much. I mean, there's this nice little lamp and a comforter, and I had Wicket wrapped up in a blanket, laid him down. He really didn't move. I cradled his head in my hand, and pretty much stood there. If I wasn't, I'd held on to him too. Right? I basically had him cuddled, and he was awake, but very, very not moving, which again was very atypical of Wicket. Wicket, he's just not. Like I said, I'll go all the way back to the very beginning. This is how I knew I wanted to adopt Pixie, is because I put her on my back, I pet her, like her underbelly, and she fell asleep almost right away. I'm like, okay, this is it. This is the dog. Great temperament. This is the one I want to adopt. And then, the one I was like, what about that one? It's like, all right. So I tried it with Wicket and squirmed and like, no, not having it. I don't want to be touched. Don't touch me. Yap, 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 yap. Just the opposite. The opposite of Pixie. Always going all the way back to when they were a month old. So I'm grateful that Wicket let me hold him as long as he did. And at that point, I hadn't quite fully resolved, like, is he just tired? Because, I mean, or is there something more? So I held him after, kind of setting him down, and they came in, they did, the vitals and checked everything. They were very, very kind too. Everybody was very, very kind. They understood the sensitivity around this. About the only person who did not understand the sensitivity was Jedi. She's 5 years old, barely understood what was going on, didn't know. She thought it was average day, not a big deal. And I tried to explain to her best I could. And Diana, she had actually done some research on this. I'm very grateful. Diana said all the right things. Because, how do you explain this to a child? And I mean, she knew Wicket. Maybe not. I mean, certainly Jedi knew Wicket differently than I did. Differently than a lot of you did, quite honestly. Jedi was kind of happy-go-lucky. Like, she couldn't figure out Daddy, why are you crying? In fact, when she saw me, the first time I think Jedi's ever really seen me cry, and not because, intentionally, but, like, when I was sitting in the kitchen, this was still before we had gone in, I told her, I said, what's going on? She asked what was going on. I said, it's Wicket. I think it's Wicket's time. Which, of course, is so nebulous. Like, what does that mean? Right? What does that mean? Uh-oh. Do you have to TT? Pixie, do you have to... Hang on. Because you're, like, wanting to get down. Give me a second. I've got a dog here that I might have to take care of. Hang on. Give me a second. Hang on, Pixie. Just, if you're going to pee on that, give me a second. Let me call Mommy. Call Diana.
Calling Diana Pirillo, mobile.
This got awkward.
Hello?
Hey, I know this is really weird. I'm doing the video and Pixie's kind of antsy, so could you take her out possibly?
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I've got her on a blanket because hang on, sweetie, just wait right there. Cause she's got her mind on something. She won't bark. She won't kind of tend to it, but Diana will come and grab her. I just have a feeling that she needs to go. The older you get, this is the way it happens. Okay, like I said, Jedi is completely oblivious. One moment. I'm sorry. Yeah, just let her out. Can you let her out? But Mommy needs to carry her.
Yeah.
Thank you. Here.
Can I stay?
Thank you, baby. Here.
Can I stay or no?
No, baby. I'm gonna keep talking to people. Thank you. She may need to go potty, honey. Thank you, honey. Can you help Mommy? Can you help? No, baby. Can you help Mommy? All right. Can you help Mommy? Thank you. So. You get to know your dogs. You've worked them for 15 years. You kind of get to know the signs. Like, it could happen. And it happens more frequently the older they get, which was another problem that was exacerbated with Wicket's condition. Wicket never had respect for those rules, and that just got worse. Anyway, the staff was very kind. They were very courteous, very attentive. They explained everything. They said, this is not, you have full control. You let us know this, that, and the other thing. We'll tell you observations. Diana and I didn't really have any questions. We tried to set context. Like, well, the last time we were in here, we got medication for Wicket so that when he, got his fur cut, they calm him down. It wasn't supposed to be a sedative, but turned out to be a sedative that did no good. And we learned that from a groomer, this was about a year ago, Wicket basically, he reacted like, she called it like he had a seizure. And she said it may not be a seizure, but it was like a seizure, like, not a seizure, like a seizure, like where he just seized, he barked, seized up, peed, and then was kind of like running into things. So he stressed himself out so much, which is that's not outside of Wicket's personality as a pup. As we were beginning training, I tried to put a gentle leader on him, and he fought so hard, and he ended up basically scaring himself. His lungs filled with liquid, and apparently it's a response mechanism. I'm like, so the body kills itself when it's in danger? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But Wicket almost died as a pup, or young, like old enough to be trained, old enough to wear a gentle leader, but still just a wildling, going all the way back. So, none of this was, an anomaly, like, or he reacts a certain way, he doesn't want to be touched, he barks, he doesn't want to be, cut or clipped or whatever. So, but the way they explained it was just it was a little odd. Like, this was different. This was markedly different than any other experience they had at a groomer that wasn't an anomaly. We went to another groomer because they said we can't deal with this. So we went to another groomer with medication, and they had some issue, but were able to finish it. And the next time we went back, they couldn't finish Wicket. And this was maybe a couple of months ago, less than that. Not too long ago, they couldn't finish him. So he's kind of scraggly. I mean, he was always scraggly, but he had you could tell where they didn't clip everything out. He had this a goatee. It was just a couple of hairs they just couldn't get to, and I let him wear it for a while. I mean, what were you gonna do? When eventually I clipped it off. I had explained to this, the symptoms of that we had witnessed. We were not sure what to do. They took his vitals, checked his stats. The vet gave an analysis and basically said that the way he's responding and the way he is now in this lethargic kind of state, not even blinking, he may have had a stroke. And it may not have been the first stroke that he had. I mean, how does a dog tell you that something happened? And the dog might have. Wicket may very well have told us, but if it looked routine or it didn't, it's age or it's this or it's that, you don't know. So, it's not exactly, oh well, he's got a bloody nose because you can see the blood dripping out of his nose. That didn't happen. I'm just saying it's not as plain as day. Dogs can't tell you necessarily, but there are certain signs and symptoms that they might exhibit, including with dementia. Going in circles, kind of, barking, just seeming confused, not being themselves. Wicket never really nipped. In his old age, he did with Jedi, but it's because Jedi had food. If you've got food and Wicket thinks he can get it, he's gonna get it. That's just ain't nothing about it. He's a dog. He's an animal, and you got food wagging in his face. You got a piece of bologna or whatever there. It's what do you? He's trained, but he's also a dog. So. Anyway, so we talked, and she basically explained this, and she went all the way through. She said, the vet, who again was very attentive, very, kind, you could tell that people had given these kind of, not speeches, but they'd presented this information before, in the way that they carried themselves and what they had said specifically. And it was genuine. It wasn't disingenuous. It didn't feel like rote. It didn't feel memorized. But you knew that they'd gone through this in bedside manner, knowing full well that the dog's adopted parents, are going to be there at this time, at a very difficult time where it is a final decision to make to basically euthanize. For the lack of a better word, that's what it was. And she said, in humans, we might investigate further. We might look at this, that, or the other thing. But in terms of pets, it's really about the quality of life for the pet. And is this really the way they want to be living? Is this good for them? And when we had gone in, I said, to Jedi and Diana, I'm like, this isn't about us. This is about Wicket and what's going to be best for him. So those words, I mean, they resonated and they made sense. And mentally, I think I was already, in that the mindset of just not. How do you explain this? You don't want to do this. And in so many ways, you kind of go into autopilot because you realize you're the one who's going to have to make that decision. And Diana knew Wicket for probably most of his life. I've known him for his entire life. Wicket and Diana always bonded in a way that I don't think Pixie and Diana did. Not that I think Diana rejected Pixie or vice versa. Pixie will love everybody. That's not a problem. But I knew that I felt it would be my responsibility. It was my responsibility in the adoption process. The dogs I always felt, primarily my responsibility, even with, us being in this full family, I always, wanted to make sure that they were set. So God, I'm sorry for all the notifications, people. I listened to everything that was going on. and basically we'd come to the conclusion that was it was Wicket's time. I think it was Wicket's time, even if we did not help. Even if we did not help, he was ready to go, or his body was telling him that it's time. So, it's never an easy decision for anybody to make. I've had dogs, I would say my entire life, really. First dog that I knew when I was young, my mom hit the dog on accident, and that dog was put down. I was confused at the time. I was maybe a little older than Jedi. I mean, I knew of death, this finality, but I couldn't get over the fact that I didn't have a chance to say goodbye, and I that hurt me. It hurt that I didn't have a chance to say goodbye to Franny. We had other dogs through the years, including Macduff, a terrier that he had. I want to say he had renal failure. He was in and out of the hospital, but ultimately I found him passed away on the kitchen floor. That was devastating, in a different way, because I never had to make a choice for a pet. I never had to make a choice for anything or anybody. Moreover, I've never been present, to my knowledge, with any person or animal with someone I've known, some creature that I've known passing. Suffice it to say, I'd kind of been preparing myself like this is likely it. This is it. And Jedi, bless her heart, was just so... Jedi could not read the room. Like, she could not read the room. I don't hold that against her. And I told Diana, I'm like, I'm not... I guess I look at her like... And Diana's like, she's 5. And I'm like, I get it, she's 5. But it's like, dude, you're so off key. Like, this is just like... This is a very solemn, somber moment, and we can't explain the gravity of this to a 5-year-old. It's just impossible. And I kept using words, being specific. Diana used different words, but I said, it's Wicket's time to go. He's not coming home with us. I couldn't. I didn't want to come out and say he's dying. Because I'm not sure if she understands the weight of that. I think she knows of death conceivably. As a 5-year-old, we don't deal with it. I'm blessed. We're blessed, and that we don't have to deal with it on a regular basis. But they offered in this process. They said, they kept apologizing. They're like, okay, we're gonna move through with it. They explained this. They explained, here's what we're gonna do. It's gonna be this. It's gonna be this, and it's going to be this. And we're going to do it this way. We're going to do it on your own time. You let us know. I mean, they were just... As far as anybody could be, as gentle. In such a sensitive moment. But they admittedly had a lot to throw at us. They said, well... Here's how we're gonna do it. You don't have to make a decision now, but how would you like Wicket to be cremated as an individual? You could have his ashes. We can put it in an urn. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. I heard about those places where you can send ashes in. This is for real. There's a service where you can send your ashes in, and they'll turn it into a gem, for real. And I always thought about it. It's expensive as hell. So either way, that wasn't a strenuous thought. I'm like, yes, I would like Wicket to be Thank you for bearing with me. I need to tell you, because I need to remember this moment for myself. Diana, and we didn't talk about this, but she was taking pictures and video, and initially I was really, I kind of told her I was kind of not repulsed, but I was like, this is really gauche. I mean, it's like taking selfies at a funeral. I mean, she was being tasteful about it, but I mean, it seemed like, why are you taking photos of this moment? And I told her this afternoon, I told her even then, I'm like, you're doing the right things, you're saying the right things, because I mean, my head was, and I wasn't sure where her head was at, but I said, don't worry about me. I'm fuzzy. I'm doing my thing, but just don't worry about me. I'm in a space. And I told her this afternoon specifically, because I told her before, but I wanted her to know. I said, thank you for taking these videos. Thank you for taking these photos. And like I said to you, I'm doing this because people have asked, because Wicket and Pixie were vicariously a part of your life. If you watched what we shared years ago, largely before Jedi was born, you I feel deserve to know. Anybody who would have shared that. I'm not kidding. Like, some people will watch, they'll tune in, just randomly, and like, hey, what's up with Wicket and Pixie? And we don't talk about it because it's not. Pardon me, it's not a thing. I'm not doing that anymore. Diana's not really doing that anymore. I mean, they're still part of it. They were still a part of our lives, but I mean, it's not like we go out, on outdoor adventures all that often, so, we're not outdoor people. And the dogs are outdoors as far as the backyard is largely concerned. But anyway, I did tell Diana, at first I was, what are you doing? But she was right. She made the right decision. She made the right call about it. Not that I want to remember it, not that I want to relive it, but just there were genuine moments that she captured, including us trying to explain to Jedi, and I said, Jedi, this is your time to say goodbye. And she couldn't quite understand, because the way Diana explained it said, well, we can always talk to Wicket. He'll be in the universe. He'll be out there in the universe, and we can always talk to Wicket. And we also telegraphed the fact that we would be bringing Wicket home, but differently. And I don't think she's quite caught on yet. Because how do you explain cremation to a 5-year-old, right? How do you explain this? And we're not looking to. That's not a question, but it's just. I said, Wicket's not coming home with us, but at the same time, he's coming home. Like, he's not, and so she there's no finality, I think, in her head, or she certainly doesn't understand I think the finality of death. Somehow, I think she has drawn the conclusion, whether she's heard us talk, but she, I think she understands that Wicket has died, that Wicket's. He has died. She's heard the word before, I know, never in this context. And I'll go this far. Diana has never known anybody or anything that has died. Nobody, to her knowledge, as close to her in all her life, has ever passed away. So she's never had to deal with death. And so to be faced with death in that room, that finality of it, the decision of it, was pretty heavy. And so, we had, moments of levity. Of course, this is the Pirillo way. We have a very macabre sense of humor, always like in an inappropriate way, like making a very macabre kind of joke. But Jedi, I said, this is your chance to say goodbye, and to Wicket, and she said goodbye, Wicket, and I don't think she quite, even when she saw me crying, she was confused, like, why is Daddy crying? He's never cried before. But I cry. I've cried several times over the past couple days in Jedi seeing me. I'm not apologizing for that. And I think it's fine. In fact, I think it's not fine to hide that. I've jokingly, Diana's sometimes wondered if I have feelings. I'm like, well, now you got proof. I have a heart. I may not show it all the time, but man, when it's strong, it's strong. So, Diana has never faced death before. They explained the process. We had Pixie in the room. Diana and Jedi picked up like hot chocolate beforehand, and like I couldn't drink anything. I'm like I knew I couldn't stomach it. Right? I'm like this lump in my throat. But they had it on the floor, and then all of a sudden we hear this lapping sound. Like I'm like, what? Pixie is licking out of the Diet Dr. Pepper can. So Pixie completely oblivious. Completely. I even put her on the table with Wicket, and Wicket didn't. He wasn't really moving a lot. His head was in my hand. He was really quiet, really quiet, calm, eerily calm. Wicket was calm. This is from this morning on. He was calm. Tired. That happened. I was just talking out loud. I mean, I don't think I told Wicket I loved him outright. I mean, this is a dog. I mean, what he's gonna say? He's not gonna. If he did, it'd be a freaking miracle. But I said I'm sorry. I'm sorry I couldn't be a better, a better daddy. I'm sorry I couldn't be a better daddy to you. I can't explain that feeling to anybody unless you are a father, to a pet, a child. I just can't explain that. That feeling of wanting to protect. God, Wicket needed protection. My God, that dog. He was a cat. He had 9 lives. Swear to God, that dog had 9 lives, and he spent all of them. My God, he didn't waste a single one, let me tell you. So I said I wish I could have been a better daddy, or I hope, in fact, to those words. And Jedi heard me say this to Wicket, because I'm trying to show her. I'm trying to talk to Wicket and let him know what I feel. Jedi hears it. I swear to God, Diana, she captured this moment on video. Jedi thought I was talking about her, so she said, "Oh, that's okay, So sometimes you get mad at me, and you can share your toys more." She's going. It was the most gut-wrenching, this moment of the innocence of a child, right? Which, with anybody else, it would be funny, but man, he's just so innocent. And so Diana and I, shared a good laugh. I said, that's my eulogy. When I'm dead, that's my eulogy. Jedi has written my eulogy. Could have shared his toys more. It was the funniest thing. Oh God, it was perfect. I mean, perfect. But she wasn't there. Man. So they let us let us do this at our own pace. I mean, a lot of this was a little fuzzy to me, but they explained it. They did a saline drop with Wicket to kind of, I guess, help kind of prime the pump, so to speak. He still laid very still. But remember, he doesn't like being touched, right? So they explained there would be a sedative of sorts that would basically knock him out, and then ultimately the solution that would effectively kill him is not the right. It's not appropriate, I don't think, in this scenario. I mean, if you want to get dictionary term about it, to effectively help him let go without him experiencing any more pain, and I hope not undue pain. Wicket, my God, this dog, he was his own worst enemy. I mean, even on the way home, I kept thinking about all the times, man, he was this close to death, so many times. Whether it was like, you know, darting out across the street, just running, shooting like a bullet out of the house, like right across. I'm like, you know, that could have been it, a mal-timed car, and that would have been it. And I visualized it, and even Diana thought the same thing, and even later. Like this is what, you know, the last day has been. You know, in the evening when I was done, I did everything I needed to do for the day. I didn't, you know, I can understand what, you know, how someone would say, well, just take the day off, but I'll get to that in a second. In the evening, you know, I was still talking about it, trying to get, you know, Diana's never processed this before, and I keep, you know, making myself probably annoyingly like, well, you know, ready to talk, let's talk. I'm like, come on, you're like, hey, Chris, emotions, feelings. I'm like, I got them, let's talk about this, let's process it, right? And so, she said, well, it's good, we can remember Wicket, we can remember him. And she's like, what did Wicket like to eat? And like that kind of thing. And she's in the pantry. I'm like, what didn't he like to eat? Like, you name one food Wicket didn't want to eat. One. Just one food that Wicket would eat non-food, for Christ's sake. If it wasn't nailed down, Wicket would eat it. This is like the 9 Lives thing. The chocolate, you know, during Christmas, like okay, where'd the cookies go? Wicket's got to eat all over, like Wicket. The chocolate is a poison to dogs. Luckily, he had plenty, but apparently his tolerance level was high. He must have been building it up over the years. You know, even the last time Liz was visiting, and I'm not sure if Liz is watching live, but I'm sure she'll tune in. She had, this is right around the time that the vlog ended, too. She had, like, what was it, chocolate-covered raisins? Something. And both the dogs got into it. I'm like, they had their stomach pumped and they were fine. Yeah, obviously, they'd survived these incidents, but my God. So, you know, was standing there basically at the table with Wicket's head in my hands, and it was kind of like this feeling like, you know, when you're a child and you go to a doctor's office and you kind of know what's coming and you got to be brave and you got to, you know, it's going to happen. You can't keep it from happening, but it's going to happen. And they explain the process as quick in terms of the process of helping them pass. And so as they fiddled with, things, you know, I don't know, in my mind I just thought it would be longer, and even though I knew it was going to be fast, but it happened much more swiftly in terms of the sedative, and I actually watched Wicket's head just drop, and she explained, she said, okay, he's now passed out, he's now not feeling anything, he's now basically asleep. And then they administered the the drug or whatever, the solution. He wasn't moving anyway. He did, when they were fiddling with the initial thing with the needle or whatever, he did kind of, what's going on with that? I mean, hello. But he didn't have much of a fight in him. Certainly not like Wicket. But that was it. Then this 2 minutes, 1 minute, however long it was, just felt like an eternity. And I sobbed. I mean, sobbed. Because it's one thing to know of a death. It's another thing entirely to hold on as someone passes. And to be there. And hope to God you're making the right decision and the best decision. If you have to make a decision. But I can tell you, over the past year, certainly 6 months, Wicket was not in good shape. Not like Pixie. Wicket was not in good shape at all. I think Pixie's hard of hearing. That's gone. But in terms of like two separate dogs, I mean, despite being the same litter, you know, two different personalities altogether. Absolutely. And like I said, Wicket burned through his life. He wrote ride hard, ridden hard. Anyway, so that was that, so we uncovered him, and I kept holding him, stroking him, and I mean he was gone at that point. But Diana was, she took the video. Like I said, at first it was like, why are you taking this video, right? And now it's just like, I'm very grateful that you took the video. And I said, here, Diana, come here, come and hold him. Here, do you want to hold him? Do you want a picture too? And I did take a couple of pictures. And Diana, I think, had a difficult time. I don't know. I can read her, and obviously she was hit, impacted, and hurt. She almost passed out. Like, are you gonna be okay? I moved and I sat down. Wicket was on the table. Jedi was kind of dancing around. They gave us as much time as we might have needed. And I said, well, you know, what happens next? Like, what are we gonna do? Like, we paid the bill and all that. And they said, well, what do we gotta do? What's next? And so you take it at your pace. I mean, they were very. I mean, I gotta tell you, if there's a time that this team needs to shine, it's this time. And they A++. So they said, no, this is what's going to happen. And I said, well, before when Diana had Wicket, Pixie was wearing. I took her collar off, but I basically put Wicket's collar on Pixie. Not that she has much muscle mass to support both, but I'm like, I did remove that from Wicket. Took it off. Wicket laid on the table, and I knew we wanted to keep the towel. For whatever it's worth, Pixie could still smell, at least for now, until it needs to be washed. Inevitably, it will be. I was very careful, and I'm very glad I sat where I sat, because as they lifted him up, you can ask Diana anything. Not that she hasn't been vocal. I didn't share anything yesterday. Nothing. I'm not, it's like not gonna be the live tweeting anything or talking. I needed time. I needed that day at least to process and to think and try to get back into a sense of normalcy, which I will admit is going to be a challenge. It's going to be a tremendous challenge for me to feel normal in losing Wicket. And again, I hope to get to that in a second too, or still circle back on that. But we checked out, did everything. I guess Wicket's going to be coming back in like a cedar urn, his ashes, which just seems nice. I don't know what the urn's going to look like, but that'll be where Wicket will be. And he won't look the same. I don't think he's going to look as cute. He'll probably bark a lot less, though, in that state. See, there's the macabre. If you can't laugh, you cry. That's, it's a whole range of emotions. But as they lifted him up, Diana was off to the side, and I didn't watch. And Diana later mentioned to me that that's kind of when it hit her. She's like, it doesn't feel real. This isn't, this just doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel. It looks like he's sleeping. And it really struck her when, and you could see it in her face. She just kind of crunched. Wicket's body was limp. I mean, he'd gone. She said the way his head fell, like you could just, it was that it hit her, right? And I don't know if she's going to hold on to that moment, but I knew that's not a moment I wanted to live with. That's not a moment that I wanted, right? I'm not. I just knew that he was going to be limp, and there was a chance that I didn't need to have that imprinted in my memory. So she took him away in a blanket, very tastefully, very carefully, gently, and I watched as they walked away, and that was it. We left with Pixie. Thanked everybody. Got back in the car, and kind of went about the rest of the day Not as normal, obviously. It's just a bit somber, but I was drained. I've been drained. I feel very drained. And I kind of felt that way even the night before. As I mentioned, it was kind of restless in terms of my sleep. So, eventually we will find a new normal, right? Wicket's gone. Pixie's still there. Pixie is currently in good health, but 15 years, even the vet said, is a pretty darn good life for a dog that size. Really darn good life. Wicket's death is definitely hit me pretty hard, if only because Pixie's, I think, is going to hit just as hard, if not harder, because right now I have I have her to console me, maybe me to console her, and it is very likely that we're going to be in a very similar scenario within a year's time with Pixie. And that's going to be very tough. Very tough. And part of the reason why is because, when you have, it's like when you have two kids, right? You can't pay attention to both equally. Like, you just split the attention. And with Pixie, she never had a chance. Because it was always Wicket and Pixie, right? And Wicket is just, it's me, right? And so Pixie always being the more docile, submissive, character, really. In Wicket's passing, it's my hope that I can be with Pixie probably more than I have been able to, even before Jedi was born, but certainly now with Jedi being born. Like today, Jedi, she wanted to go to Petco to pet cats, but she's allergic to cats. Like, not deathly, but like, you're not going near cats. But we had talked about taking Pixie so they can pick out some treats. So we took Pixie to the Petco. I'm like, that'd be kind of nice to do on a more regular basis. Spending time in the evenings when I'm watching news or catching up on shows, having Pixie at my side, which, like, not necessarily doing videos, but like, and I have a feeling she needed to pee. She got antsy for a reason. She had to go. You can't hold your bladder that long when you're that old. But she can't stay outside that long either because it's very cold. And she has no muscles to keep her warm. And the worst part is, like, we would be aware, like, the dogs would be out. You can hear Pixie whining at the door, certainly. But Wicket would always let you know because he barks. Pixie does, when Pixie barks, that's when you know it's the thing. But like, Wicket would be the barker. So I would say it'd be quiet around here, but hey, I'm still here, so is Jedi. But it's my hope, and this is not really a New Year's resolution, though I do believe we're at this time of year, where you got to be thinking about things. It's my sincere hope that in Wicket's death, I have a chance to spend time with Pixie such that when she goes, I don't feel like I not as bad, but that I feel like, okay, we were there. I mean, especially in the last few months when you were still somewhat lucid. If we get to that point, I don't know how it's going to end with Pixie. Her story is not, fully written. Jedi has played with Pixie more so than Wicket, because like I said, he always had a mind of his own. Period. End of story. Pixie's a bit more conciliatory, right? When she kind of knows what's going on. She tends to cling to me, though, because she still hasn't figured Jedi out. And Jedi and Pixie get along swimmingly, certainly. So it's my hope, not to make lemonade out of lemons, but with Wicket's absence, that we'll have more time with Pixie, that I can spend more time with Pixie. And that's the way I'm looking at it. That's genuine. That's how I feel. I also feel, and I've told this to Diane, nothing I'm telling you, I haven't already shared with her. I think losing Wicket, it hurts. But as I mentioned, like, a quarter of my life went into doing my best to protect him, many ways from himself, and to be there and do the best I could with him. And Diana said, my mom said, you gave Wicket a good life, as good a life as could be expected. I'm like, well, I don't know if that's true necessarily. I mean, we didn't pamper him exactly. But I am confident that for Wicket, with his catitude, he could have ended up with the wrong family. He could have ended up with the wrong individual. And there was a time in our lives, despite me not really being sold on his adoption with Pixie, appealing to my logical side, well, they can hang out together. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess that makes sense. You can't appeal to me with emotion. You got to appeal to me with logic. There was a time in our lives that I had to fight for Wicket, and I fought for him. I fought for him because I wanted to make sure that both he and Pixie were together, and I fought. Because any other decision would have spelled catastrophe for him. There's zero doubt in my mind. So, having known Wicket for 15 years, you having known Wicket for, well, probably as long as many of you have known me, Wicket was older than you two. But having known him over those periods of life, my experience is Wicket's always been there. He's always been that constant. A dog that I could count on, right? I can count on Wicket being Wicket, right? Or I can count on, him being there in some way, shape, or form. He'd give you attention when you had food. Like, this is the way it was, right? And I accepted that. Because you gotta accept that, right? But that loss... That loss of an earlier time that will never come again. That loss of a time in my life that is just almost like, it's radically different. In so many ways, just a different life that I have now than the time that I adopted him. I mean, but I've said that my life's radically different than it was 5 years ago. Different, certainly, different enough. But Wicket was always there. He was always that constant. So that loss... That's what's devastating, because we shared those experiences, the way that a master and a dog might. And I try to explain that to Diana too, like, and certain other changes in our life, like it's how it happens. You have to let go. You have to accept it, and you have to move on. Wicket's not coming back. Certain things aren't coming back. Because change happens, and you deal with change. You deal with it best you can. So I think that's probably the thing that I feel is with all those memories that I have of Wicket, the thing that probably hurts the most is knowing that we shared those things together, and now he's not here. I mean, you could look back on a ton of the videos that I've done, ton of them, even when the dogs weren't here. Sometimes Wicket would start barking in the background, and I'd make up some story, but somehow he turned into a Linux fan. I can't remember what it was. Years ago, like, we were on the topic or whatever, and I said something, I paused, Wicket barked, and I'm like, well, of course, and he saw that off-screen, the foil, right? Like I said, he was a barker, man. Man, God, that dog would bark. So I know that's probably going to be the biggest difference around here, apart from Pixie having a little more freedom, possibly. We still got to watch her. She's small bladder. Can't keep, she doesn't, the dogs have not had full run of the house for a couple years now. For good reason. Got tired of cleaning up messes. Not hearing barks, quiet. Certainly it will be. Last night I had a very difficult time sleeping too, and every time I woke up, of course, my first memory was holding on to Wicket. As he passed, as he was laying on the table. For some reason, that's the memory that jumps out. Not me holding him. Very difficult night of sleep. Very difficult. Every half hour I'd wake up, and then even last night I'm like, okay, so Wicket's not gonna bark in the middle of the night, or if he does, something going on. But Diana had a hiccup fit. Jedi had a massive nightmare. I was just like, of all the nights that I could get a night of sleep, like, come on, people. We laughed about that. But anyway, I felt that again, and I saw a couple super chats come in. I don't know. At the beginning of this video, I didn't have the mic on. I don't know if I want to keep that part. I guess I should, just for posterity. If only so people could complain. Like, what's going on? Where's the mic? The mic's not working. I'll have to timestamp when Daddy realizes that he made a mistake. You start referring to yourself in the third person. You got pets and children around. Daddy's doing this. Daddy's doing that. It's true. It's true. Or at least we do around here. Mommy's doing this or Daddy's doing that. I felt you deserved to know, as well as like when someone and I know not everyone's going to see this video. Certainly, they watch the vlogs, but when someone does ask, well, how are Wicket and Pixie? Here's one of the links that I will send. I'm up for any new title. This is not to be clickbaity. I obviously did not monetize it. Any kind of super chats, which were appreciated, will probably go to Pixie's snack fund. I'm not going to spoil her necessarily, but I'm going to make a concerted effort to bring her in a little more than I might have been able to with Wicket around. So the update is that in a week that would normally be dominated by Star Wars excitement, I got to tell you, I'm not feeling it. There's a lot of things happening right now that I should be very excited about, very happy about, but it's been difficult to begin with to get in the holiday spirit. I've gone through the motions, I've done things, and we get, Lego sets that put together partially with Jedi. I mean, like, done that. But I'm not feeling very interactive. I'm talking about it, obviously, but I'm not gonna. I want to say what I want to say, and I mean, I may ruminate more, but this is probably it. This is probably the most I might talk about it. Apart from casual conversations or what have you. It's. I'm not gonna say, I'm never gonna bounce back. I will bounce back. I mean, I've lost pets before, in similar ways. Things will be different. Things will remind me of Wicket, and that the feelings, the strength, the intensity of those feelings will pass. I know that, but I know that a lot of them are going to get dredged up again when it's Pixie's time. That's something that it's like a sword of Damocles, So I want to make her life as quality as possible. I owe her that. In wanting to just adopt her at the time, I at least owe Pixie that. Pixie, like I said, she's probably happy. She's like, I don't have to fight for my food anymore? Like, I don't have to worry about the Wicket over my shoulder? I can eat slow? What's going on? That's great. Really? I don't have to fight for the treats? That's amazing. I get more treats? Wow, what the heck? Oh my god. This is amazing. I'm living forever. Let me just keep telling myself that. But I'm not really feeling anything right now. I'm not feeling much else right now. So I'm not sure how much of a Christmas Chris you're going to get. Not that you've seen a lot lately. I've been off the radar for a lot of reasons, in many ways compared to the way it used to be. For a lot of reasons. I will see the Force or the Rise of Skywalker. Yes, but my head is not. It's not there right now. I'm not saying that I'll feel guilty about it, but I kind of need. I definitely need a distraction more so than normal, but like my excitement is, I'm not just trying to stay busy to stay ahead of my feelings. I'm processing my feelings as they come, but what would otherwise be a joyous season, what would otherwise be an exciting week, has been obliterated. And so that's one of the reasons I'm doing this video now, because I didn't want to get to the point where, hey, Chris, what do you think about The Rise of Skywalker? Because I know people are going to ask, right? I want to be able to talk about that and maybe make mention of this, but not have it be about this, right? I also don't want to hold off on seeing the movie because as much as it's been very difficult for me to concentrate on certain things, I can get through menial tasks or routines with ease because I don't have to think about it. But the moment I have to start thinking about something or the moment I'm not bored, but like my mind wanders, that's what I need a break for myself. I've been avoiding personal stuff. I've been avoiding social largely for obvious reasons. I don't want to be spoiled, and that's one of the reasons why I'm really not looking at the comments right now. I would ask that you respect that space. Thank you for your well wishes. Thank you for your understanding. Thank you more than anything. Thank you for understanding why I'm trying to do it this way, in that reason. Not just to document it for myself. Who knows if I ever going to watch this again or see this again, but for you, because I feel you deserve that as closure, or at least understanding about what happened and how it happened and when it happened. And I feel that's important because so many people watch the vlogs. It's just funny. Like, people stop watching, things change, and then I stop doing them, and then everyone asks. I'm like, well, where were you? Everyone disappears for 7 years and goes, Chris, what happened? You aged 7 years. Like, duh! Chris, I haven't watched you in 10 years. What happened? 10 years have passed, you numbskull. So, some people. Either way, I understand. We all get busy. We all change happens. We all are at different points in our life. But, when someone asks, I'll probably point them this video because I'm not going to go into it again. I feel that that's the honest thing to do. It's the right thing to do, especially for those who knew Wicket. And if you did not, God, those vlogs are still there. They suck. I was going through many changes myself. Diana was going through changes. But the dogs were rock solid. They were you got to know Wicket in his prime, and Pixie in her prime for sure. Of that, there is no doubt. That doesn't mean they're coming back. It doesn't. I mean, the vlogs. Obviously, the dogs. Once you're gone, right? So that's that. Expect a lot more silence from me. I'm just swim right now. I don't know. Thank you for giving me my space. Not my space. My space. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I appreciate it. I appreciate you tuning in. Thank you. I'm not fishing for anything. Likes, money, subscribe, anything. This is just an update. That's all it is. This is not really the core of what I really do much anymore. So, thank you. I love you, as I'm prone to say. I appreciate you. And at this point, I'm going to leave you to your own devices. And may the Force be with you, always.